All right, our final discussion for the evening. The federal government has refuted claims of a nationwide open grazing ban, saying reforms are being introduced gradually. Minister of Livestock Development Idi Mukhtar Meha said the goal is a phased transition to modern ranching to boost productivity and reduce conflict. He also noted that Nigeria has 273 public grazing reserves covering 4.5 million hectares, which the government is revitalizing in partnership with states. Cardiff, very quickly, could this approach, the gradual approach rather, could it be seen as a political compromise rather than a security-driven policy?
Your question is quite, that's a big one. But in what it is, I think whatever is not the law is not the law. If there is no legislation to that effect, the federal government is not lying. But if there's a legislation and federal government is coming up with this kind of political rhetorics, that's quite unfortunate.
Right.
But I want to believe that there's no legislation as we speak. Different states are coming with legislation. So, but federal government as a country, as a state, you know what I mean by a state now, haven't come up with that decision. However, the best way that decision can even work, the best way we can even legislate that is to have these reserves in huge number. Otherwise, we are just solving a problem without thinking of the buffer. We're not looking at how we can actually address this situation.
Right.
We just want to be politically correct.
Right.
People said open grazing should stop. Open grazing should stop. Don't forget, there are genuine Nigerians who are into this business, and they must be incorporated
into the plan,
into the the ranching, the reserves that we are talking about.
Right. Adams, quickly, does the government's stance risk creating friction with states that have already passed anti-open grazing laws? How do you think this is going to play out in the dynamics of things?
Yeah, because, there's definitely going to be conflicts. There are states like Benue and some other states who, have been able to itemize these things properly by putting it into law and banning open grazing. So for the federal government to say outrightly that they have not banned open grazing and that they're doing gradual phasing into ranching, there's definitely going to be conflict because the Constitution of the Federal Republic, it seems to supersede every other laws made by respective states. So this, like in Benue, for instance, where the anti-grazing law has been in practice for upward of 5 years already, the herdsmen, and pastoralists are going to take advantage of this statement by the federal government. And then there would be frictions in Benue, which will result to carnages, which will result to burning down of our villages, and these problems would ensue. So the federal government should not be categorical. They should be made to explain, to the extent at which this gradual phasing out of open grazing entails, and then be seen to also protect the people of these states that have put anti-grazing laws to address, headers, farmers' crisis. So we want to see a system where Nigerians want to see where we have seen that open grazing, is an outdated practice. Everywhere else in this world, you have seen where ranching has produced better quality for animals, has produced better productivity and better returns to the pastoralists. So we want to see the federal government of Nigeria also live, to expectations and do what is obtainable elsewhere around the world.
Thank you very much. Yes. Kadi, before we go, if there is no agenda behind open grazing, you would almost want to ask, this is 2025, why should conversations about open grazing still be on the table when civilized societies, just like he pointed out, have transited to ranching and is embracing,
climes provide the alternative before banning this thing. So it's for federal government to hasten up, it's for states to hasten up. And to what he said, I think there shouldn't be friction. It should be looked at like,
critically.
For example, the issue of transportation laws. Some people will tell you they cannot drive in Lagos because Lagos is going to go for you if you mess up with their traffic rules.
True.
So the same thing should happen. Where there are states that have put this thing into law, people who want to do open grazing should avoid that state. Let's not go into that conflict. You would have been in jail before you go into, but the federal government says, excuse me, there are things that are under the state. I can't remember what it is, whether it's exclusive or concurrent in this area. But as far as this is concerned, let's avoid the friction, obey the laws of that state, and if these states have not, legislated the issue of open grazing, please, you can go into that state. But please and please avoid that friction, whatever business you do in that aspect.
All right, Adams, in 30 seconds, what's your final thoughts on all of this, and how do you think the government should proceed with actually effecting this reform so that it doesn't cause any rancor? 30 seconds, quickly.
We want to have a situation where the federal government of Nigeria will be seen as protecting, their citizens. So in a system where open grazing seems to breed friction, seems to breed violence, the federal government should live up to its expectation and correct the anomaly, and be seen to make reforms that are people-oriented, reforms that, seems to, bring solutions to problems that have become conundrums, So the federal government should protect Nigerians and be very categorical about banning open grazing in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Well, Kaode, in 10 seconds, how do you round off to?
Let me just, because of time, let's just say that federal government should be more aggressive in providing ranching. Many states are ready to even provide lands for this thing. Let us make it an archaic thing. Let us make it obsolete by providing the alternative.
Thank you very much. Adam Sabonu, thank you for your time this evening on the show. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Akadi, thank you so much for always having our backs. Appreciate you. Yeah.